This is Matthew Cratter from Trader University, and today I want to talk about the evil things that Cardano and Charles Hoskinson are doing in Ethiopia, in particular social credit scores for kids. So we're going to talk not just about this project, but we're also going to talk about what I've found online about Charles Hoskinson's character. Again, Hoskinson is probably a very good guy, and I'm just finding stuff on the internet. I don't know him personally, and so I can't tell you whether this stuff is true, but if you do own Cardano, I think you have a right to know at least what people say about Charles Hoskinson. So let's first listen to what he and his company, IOHK, are doing in Ethiopia.
The flagship of which is a deal that we have closed with the Ministry of Education containing 5 million students using a technology called PRISM integrated in the Cardano blockchain. Every one of these students will have a digital ID called a DID, and that DID carries with it metadata that will travel with them throughout their entire academic life, and like those who left Facebook's clutches of the university into the real world, will actually follow them into the economic world. So as they graduate, as they go into the economy, eventually this infrastructure can be used for property, for payments, for voting, and all other manners of their economic life.
So this is basically a program that's rolled out. It initially tracks students' grades, and then as they become adults, it adds more and more metadata, and eventually is used to control their taxes, their property ownership, etc. I thought it was really interesting that Hoskinson compares his social tracking to Facebook. He talks about how early adopters joined Facebook in college, and then it followed them through their adult lives. The funny thing is Hoskinson doesn't exactly see the irony of using this as a role model of a company. Facebook has not exactly been the most ethical or well-loved company around. Cardano's PRISM project here in Ethiopia will track school grades, and then it's going to be used not just by the banks, but by the government to track them as adults. I find this very, very depressing. Is this really the promise of crypto, a government digital ID that's forced on African children and then may eventually even become a CBDC rolled out in true colonialist fashion? If you want to hear some internal complaints from some people in Ethiopia, this was a nice 5-minute speech, which I'll link to below, which shows how Cardano basically muscled its way into the country, did not follow the normal procedures. There was not a competitive bidding process, etc. And so there are a lot of Ethiopians who are very unhappy with this as well. I think it's important for you to know this if you own Cardano. Cardano is one of those cryptocurrencies that had a large pre-mine and pre-sale. We can see here it was approximately 17% of the initial token allocations went to insiders like Charles Hoskinson. And this was the problem with starting your own cryptocurrency. It's very difficult to start a cryptocurrency, a new one, and have it be neutral and decentralized. In fact, it's never been done since Satoshi. And Satoshi, Bitcoin had this really what I've called an immaculate conception where you don't have all these incentive problems caused by insiders pocketing all this money and then needing to try to show progress to holders. Now, one of the big problems with Cardano, for all of you who love proof of stake and think it's a more secure system, we can see proof of stake at work with Cardano, and we can see it combined with the pre-mine. This is what Ethereum is moving towards as well as they move from proof of work to proof of stake. It's really a move not to save the environment or to help out with ESG. It's a move to enrich insiders who've made a lot of money from the pre-mine, and then they can just stake their coins and collect a lot of income. So if you dig into it, I don't know if this is true. Please don't sue me, Charles, but you can find a lot of this stuff online that Hoskinson is making $40 million a year in passive income just by staking his $1 billion worth of Cardano. In addition, Hoskinson seems to, how shall I say it, be amenable to bending facts. Here's an interaction with Laura Shin where she alleges that he never attended the PhD program at CU Boulder and instead was just an undergrad. And then she seems to be able to produce information from CU Boulder saying that Hoskinson really did not attend as a graduate student, that he was only an undergrad there. So we have a contradiction here between what looks like an official letter from the Director of Communications at CU Boulder and then what Charles has been saying about his own life. And the more you look into Hoskinson, the more of this sort of slime that you find. There's a book called Out of the Ether by Matthew Lysing, and I thought I'd finish by reading a passage from that, which is, again, I don't know if this is true. This is all alleged, but it's an interesting characterization of Hoskinson, and it would seem to fit with what we see him doing in Africa and in his professional life. So I'll start reading here. This is from Out of the Ether. Charles Hoskinson would prove to be much more problematic for the group. He was described to me by the people he worked with at the time as a pathological liar, a sociopath, and as someone to not trust in the company of your girlfriend. In his early 20s in 2014, he was one of the youngest co-founders. They're talking about Ethereum. He wore a thick beard and glasses and dressed in a way that would make you think that he was much older than he was. And he talked about as if he had seen Creedence Clearwater Revival in the 70s. He also tried to convince people that he was actually Satoshi Nakamoto. He showed emails that claimed that he proved that he had invented Bitcoin. He talked about war stories, that he got a limp by jumping out of an Apache helicopter in Afghanistan. It's never been shown he did any military service there. He claimed to be associated with the CIA. He hinted of links to DARPA, and he often kept his passport in the front pocket of his shirt. This is someone that even Vitalik Buterin doesn't like, and this should really be a warning to us. It soon became clear to Vitalik that Charles was a liability, and this is Vitalik speaking about him. I was kind of caught off guard by this because Charles was always nice to me, but Charles seems to be one of these people that seem to be pretty common in the world who are nice to their superiors but abuse their subordinates. So again, this is just another quote from another book. I don't know if this is true, but just combining this with what you see Cardano and IOHK doing in Africa should give you pause. And if you are a Cardano holder, do you sleep well at night, or will you sleep well at night knowing these details? I love the quote. I think it was originally a Buffett quote, but I've heard it from many people. Look around the poker table. If you can't spot the sucker, you're probably it. And I would contend that just based on this alleged evidence, that if you're a holder of Cardano, or unfortunately if you're one of the Ethiopians who's been a victim of his social credit score tracking of children, these are the suckers at the table. Fortunately, a lot of Ethiopians are waking up and speaking out against what Hoskinson is doing and how IOHK is seeking to profit from this African country. This is, of course, the problem with altcoins. The deeper you dig, the more dirt you find and the uglier it gets. This is why none of these currencies, these cryptocurrencies, can ever be a neutral, decentralized currency like Bitcoin. There's just too many bad incentives that were set in motion by the premine, continued by proof of stake, and then this fake need to show progress. And Cardano really has been one of those blockchains that has done very, very little in spite of the amount of money that it raised and how long it's been around for. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.